A week is usually half in, half out.
No, I had to leave in the middle because Phoenix police had found my body in an apartment, decomposed for about 3 weeks.
Oh, you were dying. You were dead somewhere else.
Yeah, well, somebody that took my identity obviously got killed.
Obviously.
And
you sure?
Yeah.
And you're sure you're alive?
Right. So they dragged me back to jail, and I was a couple months clean. I was so spun. I'm like, was I really pretending to be somebody else?
Did you actually have that debate?
Yeah, in the car ride there. Well, it was better than talking to two cops.
Okay.
I'd rather drive myself crazy talking to myself.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm following all this.
But yeah, they ran my prints, and
for anybody listening who actually knows Ian, he's not much more mentally clear at this point than he was back then. I mean,
No, I was much better back then. I was younger.
Right. You had your wits about you.
Yeah, I could remember the words to a song.
So, all right. So, how long does it take before you're into a day-to-day life in your little community?
Well, it took quite a while because I was released on house arrest after I got out of treatment.
Okay, and where did you do house arrest? By yourself or at a sober living?
No, well, I tried sober living, but again, there were still some issues with some people on the streets that were also in sober living. So after the first night of getting into a fight there, they sent me to another sober living. And after getting into a fight there, I just begged my PO. I go, listen, I don't want to hurt anybody else. Can you just please let me go live in a house?
Okay,
by
so
myself?
this is all a direct relationship, proportional relationship type thing to use only drugs.
Enemies on the street. Yeah.
Enemies on the street. Well, it's a politically correct statement, but
right.
You were you had created wreckage of your past, as the big book would say.
Right.
Okay. Just keeping track of all of it. I'm very
right.
impressed.
And again, I knew I was going away for a very long time, so I want to live it up. I want a nice house on the water,
right.
and which is hard to find in the desert.
Right, and you can't leave the state. I can only imagine.
Leave the state? I couldn't leave the house.
Well, yeah, but you're allowed
only
out for certain periods of the time.
Huh?
Aren't you allowed out to go get a job or go to meetings?
No, they were actually, they knew that I had a wrecking yard then, and it was far away, and they knew I was losing that license because I wouldn't be able to renew it because I'd have to answer yes to the felony question. So, yeah, we started winding that down, and I only had freedom for meetings, and I did go to meetings 30 miles away sometimes just so I could run all my errands on the way back home, but they figured that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on with you. Lot going on.
I was stretching the envelope.
Clearly you are. Okay. So you do all that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever settle down and get into a rhythm of actually going to meetings?
Yeah, well, when I was on house arrest, the only thing I could get out of the house for was meetings, so I went to five a day.
And they allowed you out for that. You got your...
They started hindering me a little bit. They started saying, "Hey, why do you have to go to all these meetings every day?" I'm like, "Because I'm messed up."
And the program,
they could see I was starting to get well, and they weren't happy about that.
No, that's crazy talk. Nobody is against you getting well, but I do like your advanced stages of paranoia to think that somehow that's happening. Like there's a conspiracy theory by the Metro Phoenix PD to somehow get you because
Maricopa County Probation Department.
Yeah, they want to get you, right?
They did.
I don't think they want to get you. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. Like, I'm going to go way out on a limb. No, I don't believe that they wanted to get you. I don't.
I don't know. I disagree. The judge disagrees because they wound up. I had to give him my money to make sure my fines were paid. Yes. And I got my first royalty check, which was pretty big, and I really needed it. And I handed it over to him. It took him a month to clear that thing. So they held my money for a month, and then they tried to throw me in jail sometime during that month. And the judge is just like, "Nah, you got to give the guy his money. You can't throw him in jail and take his money."
All right. Well, if you're
The judge was cool.
you're such a pseudo high level pseudo celebrity at this point.
You're right. I was still a legend in my own.
A legend in your own mind.
Yes.
Why don't you have a halfway decent attorney through all this?
I did.
Okay.
That's why I never went. That's why I never got locked up.
Okay.
But he couldn't do anything about the money. They blamed the banking system, that it had nothing to do with the probation department. But yes, they felt bad.
This is the 90s. You make it sound like it's the Ponyback Express.
No, it was
days.
the 90s. Yeah.
That's 3 to
just
5 days to clear
Bank
anything.
of America 30-day hold. I mean, it was weird because the next one they cashed the next day.
Remarkably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So
my
that gets
problem was
you-
I should have never gave him that one.
That's
I
a lot of
used to
drama
like,
for the first 90 days. I gotta be honest.
Well, the check was probably 100 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're telling me your first... How long were you on house arrest?
9 months total. Well, I was in jail for part of that.
So your first year.
Yeah.
You don't even have time for spin dry crazy.
No.
Because you're a part of this insanity.
No, I took a crap after a meeting, and I got pulled in front of a judge for being 20 minutes late getting home.
Yeah. I can understand how... So... now I understand.
The thing with house arrest, if these POs live with you for 9 months, there's got to be something in your file. Otherwise, they hadn't done their job. And I realized that, and I just realized that some days were going to be my days.
No.
Well, you're in California. This is Arizona.
Okay, but I know...
Senator owns prisons here.
Well... I'm just fascinated with your perspective on everybody's out to get you.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, but if we could get into your history, people have heard other podcasts. Well, I'm hoping other people have heard other podcasts. There's a recurring theme of people want to get you.
No. They didn't want to get me. They wanted to get what I had. And it wasn't my recovery.
No. Okay. Outstanding. All right, so
my
you
collection
get
of cars,
through the first
my
year.
collection of guitars.
Should I safely assume that in this first year you are constantly whoring it up for your entertainment?
Yes, because I was going to prison the rest of my life and wanted to live life to its fullest.
And you kept sharing this, that you're going to prison for the rest of your life.
Right. That was my thought during my whole first year.
I'm a bad boy rocker who's going to jail for the rest of my life. Come over and get some of this.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, the whole house arrest thing had been an asset for that.
Oh, I'm sure. Women love bad boys.
Right.
I don't.
Well, they knew where I was.
I don't think that's. I don't think it's any revelation that you are picking up weak-minded program women.
No, these were women with lots of time.
Yeah, they're weak-minded too.
No, they were just 13-steppers, and that's okay.
Oh, you really...
I was all right with it.
Do you really believe that about women with time, or do you believe that they are...
Yes, I do remember when I celebrated my year, that phone stopped ringing, just like when I stopped with drugs.
Really?
Yes.
I believed mine to increase.
He's too healthy. He might make it. I can't do this.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was... And again, right around my first year was when I got off of house arrest, was when I was done with jail. I mean, a lot of things started happening for me that, I had a successful business already. So, I mean, life was actually good when I got done with all the court stuff.
Okay, so you get everything done in the first year, and you come out the back end of it. And
I had my moment of clarity.
Oh,
I mean,
what
my
was
real
your
moment of
by
clarity
the way,
where I
what was
admitted
your
to
moment of clarity?
I finally admitted to my innermost self that I had a problem. I mean, before I was just a hard partier with mental problems and bad luck with the cops.
Right.
But
and
they
were going to
get they were
out
to
get you.
I was an addict.
Right.
But yeah, at about 10, 11 months was when, after all the court stuff was done, after all the litigating was done, after all the toxic girlfriend was gone, after the violence had calmed down, I finally admitted that, I was an alcoholic and I couldn't drink the way I used to, or the way I wanted to, or the way that other people did. and life got much easier for me once I admitted that.
When did you actually start thinking about a secondary career away from your pseudo rock star bad boy lifestyle?
I was done. I was done with music. There was just so many lawsuits that first year. It was ridiculous, and I missed some really good opportunities because I was locked up in jail. So, it was kind of like I blew it.
And how much of a depression do you go in from that whole thing?
Nah, it wasn't that bad then.
Really? It sets in over time?
Yeah. I mean, I was more depressed about. I knew I was never going to make it big because I lived till 28. All great musicians die at 27.
Yeah, but you and I both know what happened. 28,
now I'm 30. I got really depressed when I turned 30.
Yeah, but you and I both know what's happened to every band that's sort of survived that hump. Now they have a fairly successful career in running the summer circuits.
Right.
At almost every level, no less.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated with some of the bands.
Oh, one of the bands I was with is making a lot more now performing than they ever did.
Than they did back in their heyday. Right.
Yeah, because the original members got back together.
Right. Just wondering if there aren't times that you... Because part of you wants to be a rock star still.
Well, I still am. I mean, but you got to remember there's a difference between musicians and rock stars.
Well, yes. I would categorize myself in my mind as a rock star over a musician any day of the week. But
right. The difference is talent. One is attitude, one is talent. I just happen to be smart enough to surround myself with talented people.
All right. So after the first year, you actually decide to get a real career and start making something of your life?
Yeah. Well, I had to kind of buy a job just to do the probation thing.
Okay. And what'd you do at the beginning?
Restaurant.
You bought a restaurant?
Yeah, I bought into a restaurant.
How was that? Other than I already know the statistic before you did it, so it's probably not a happy ending.
No, well, it was for me, actually. I mean, I worked my ass off for 3 years, and I sold my half out.
Okay, and that's what you should do. Most people stay in too long and don't leave at a correct time.
Right.
That's very consistent about what people do incorrectly.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, well, I had a crazy partner.
Of course. When have you not had a crazy partner? By the way, for anybody who's listening to the show...
He helped me with recovery the first year. He was sober almost 20 years.
And by the way, even on some level, your current equity partner is somewhat crazy. So, generally speaking, everybody you've ever known is crazy. You're attracted to crazy.
Well, yeah, but I'm more silently crazy than I used to be.
Yeah, but
I still make sure I'm the craziest guy in the room. But
that's a given.
I let people act out around me.
Okay, so what did we learn from this episode about your for anyone's first year of recovery? 1, find a community. 2, find a sponsor. 3, just get the batshit crazy out of your batshit crazy.
Yeah, well, the batshit crazy, as long as it's fun. I mean, have fun in recovery. It was hard for me to have fun in recovery.
Well, I think that there is something to be said about...
Because I was locked in the house.
Yeah, well...
I wasn't a fun guy.
I'd watch a lot of TV. There'd be a lot of TV watching. But it was not the same in the 90s. Here's my question. I didn't know in the 90s what I knew now. Like, if I sponsored somebody now, my attitude would be different towards a 20-year-old because there's no way, and you know this now, you're a different person than you were then. Immensely.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I would say so.
What would you have changed if you were sponsoring yourself?
If I was sponsoring myself, I probably would have gone back to school sooner, maybe taken a different major. I probably would have been a little bit more active in the public eye than just kind of sitting back and having my anonymity being one of my greatest character defects.
It's not bad. What would you tell your younger self?
Keep the money. don't be afraid of having buddy.
There you go. What message of hope would you like to share with people this week? Because this almost turned into